Episode 56 Zambian Kwacha, October 29, 2024. Bucharest Hungary sees PM 2.5 pollution from residential heating. In Episode 56 Zambian Kwacha, 1 World 2 California wildfires. 3 Massachusetts tinderbox at Chisettes. 4 Ohio Toledo. 5 United Kingdom Hereford. 6 Hungary. Bucharest sees significant pollution levels due to residential heating, traffic. Romania Insider. Pollution levels in cities are monitored by measuring the concentration of suspended particles, known as PM10 and PM2.5. Air Live has a network. 7 India. Main content. 1A World and Colombia Cali United Nations Biodiversity Conference. New York Times. How are the world's trees doing? A new assessment has answers. They play an essential role in supporting life on Earth, but many species are in decline, researchers found. The New York Times reporting was from the United Nations Biodiversity Conference in Cali, Colombia. Rosep view. Trees do not only support life on Earth through photosynthesis absorbing CO2 when trees are alive. The burning of trees actively destroys the health of humans on Earth through tree burning emissions of PM2.5, which PM2.5 is not reabsorbed by trees. And although trees replanted over decades or centuries can regain the stature of burned trees through photosynthesis absorb some carbon in the form of CO2, trees actively hold their breath like humans when confronted with PM2.5 from wood burning, as demonstrated by a recent research paper on standing trees in wildfire zones in the presence of PM2.5 from wood burning. The actions of living trees in closing their pores and reducing or stopping photosynthesis as a result of encountering PM2.5 act as humans do, not absorbing the PM2.5 but reducing their vital activities in the presence of the same unnecessary pollutant PM2.5, whether from indoor residential wood burning or from wood burning power plants. ROSEP first takes the viewpoint of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners, because wood burners, whether burning wood in power plants or indoors residentially, have been protected from regulation of wood burning emissions because of the scientifically debunked dribble down or trickle down theory of the UN supported, but scientifically debunked excuse and specious theory of carbon neutrality of wood burning, allowing the UN to turn a blind eye and literally erase emissions. Data from wood burning from each country in the world's emission counts when counting whether each country in the world is meeting its climate goals for reducing emissions of pollutants such as CO2 and PM2.5 from wood burning. This UN conference is not concerned with the health effects of PM2.5 emissions from wood burning. However, in meeting the aim proposed by Brazil's example of paying developing countries to maintain their forests by strictly regulating and enforcing regulations against deforestation recently, the collateral health benefit of strict enforcement of deforestation regulations in disadvantaged countries may reduce the amount of wood burning worldwide. If the amount of wood burned is reduced, each country will be able to see, or perhaps forced by enforcement of pollution limits to see, the reality that alternatives to wood burning exist, and in the new energy economy clean alternatives to wood burning such as wind, solar, and geothermal are cheaper than burning wood when used to produce energy for a clean electric grid. This conference also was not concerned with the economic cost of increased healthcare and early funerals caused the presence of wood burning and its toxic PM2.5 emissions. But eventually those healthcare and death economic costs may be presented before conferences like this, allowing conference participants to comprehensively weigh the economic benefits and, most importantly, to ROSEP the human health benefits of stopping deforestation around the world. ROSEP view. From the website of the conference. Excerpts edited by ROSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. For 2 decades, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNOC, has been helping make the world safer from drugs, organized crime, corruption, and terrorism. We are committed to achieving health, security, and justice for all by tackling these threats and promoting peace and sustainable well-being as deterrents to them. UNOC at the Biodiversity COP16. The Conference of the Parties, COP, is the principal governing body of the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, where member states convene to set priorities and strategies for global biodiversity conservation. October 21st to November 1st, 2024, Colombia will host the 16th session of COP to the CBD in the city of Cali. COP16 will be the first biodiversity COP since the adoption of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework at COP15 in December 2022 in Montreal, Canada. At COP16, governments will be tasked with reviewing the state of implementation of the Global Biodiversity Framework. Parties to the convention are expected to show the alignment of their national biodiversity strategies and action plans, MSAPs, with the framework. COP16 will further develop the monitoring framework and advance resource mobilization for the Global Biodiversity Framework. UNOC's involvement at COP16 will emphasize the intersection of crimes that affect the environment and biodiversity conservation. Key areas of focus will include combating the illicit exploitation of natural resources and the illegal trade in wildlife and commodities, while promoting sustainable practices, mitigating the environmental impacts of drug trafficking and other illicit economies, enhancing regulations and enforcement for protected areas. ROSEP view. From the website of the conference, excerpts edited by ROSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. October 28, 2024. More than a third of the world's tree species are threatened with extinction, according to the first comprehensive assessment of trees by the world's leading scientific authority on the status of species. The findings, announced on Monday by the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List, are especially sobering given the amount of life that trees sustain. Countless species of other plants, animals, and fungi rely on forest ecosystems. Trees are also fundamental to regulating water, nutrients, and planet-warming carbon. Trees are essential to support life on Earth, said the Director General of the International Union for Conservation of Nature. The tree assessment is considered comprehensive because it includes more than 80% of known tree species. In all, 38% were found to be at risk of extinction. Island biodiversity is vulnerable because those species often have small populations that exist nowhere else, and island trees accounted for the highest proportion of trees threatened with extinction. In Madagascar, numerous species of rosewoods and ebonies are threatened. In Borneo, 99 species of one family of trees are imperiled. In Cuba, fewer than 75 mature trees known in Spanish as maiden's blood remain. Around the world, the biggest threats to trees are agriculture and logging, followed by urbanization, said the head of conservation prioritization of a non-profit group that led the research now included in the red list. For temperate regions, pests and diseases are a major threat to trees. It's unclear how climate change warming will affect tree species. The group announced the findings in Cali, Colombia, where government representatives from countries around the world gathered for the United Nations Biodiversity Conference, held every 2 years. In 2021, more than 140 countries, including Brazil, China, Russia, and the United States, vowed to end deforestation by 2030. The agreement covers some 90% of the world's forests. In terms of action, though, the news is fairly bleak, said a senior consultant at Climate Focus, which found that in 2023, the global deforestation rate was 45% higher than it should have been to be on track to halt deforestation by 2030. Governments are often affected just as much by profit motive as private companies, and it's much easier to make money by clearing a forest or harvesting timber from a forest than by protecting and conserving a forest. Still, Brazil has shown that it is possible to curb deforestation with political will and strong enforcement. Now it's proposing a new fund that would pay developing countries to maintain their forests. Agricultural intensification, roads, and urban development are driving the declines, scientists say. 1B World. UN climate chief warns of looming train wreck as 1.5 degrees Celsius in doubt. Europe. Gulf News. Greenhouse 17301150922272 Mercy carries pieces of mangrove wood through the smoke the gateway to hell, a huge burning gas crater in the heart of 1C World. Air pollution could make it harder for bees to navigate. EOS.org tiny particles of aerosols and pollutants, particularly PM2.5, or particles less than 2.5 micrometers in diameter, about 1/30th the width of a human. 2 California wildfires. California, El Dorado County. Breaking. Wood fire reported in El Dorado County on October 28, Merced Sunstar. Wood fire has been burning on private land. At this time, the containment status is unknown and the cause of the fire remains undetermined. California. Update. Wood fire in El Dorado County. October 28 status. Sacramento B. Wood fire initially started today at 4:57 a.m. in El Dorado County. It has been burning on private land for 2 hours. At this time, there is no. California, Los Angeles. Breaking. New wildfire reported in Los Angeles County on October 27th, Merced Sunstar. Wildfire breaks out in Los Angeles County, CA Merced Sunstar. The wildfire has been burning on private land. At this time, there is update. Wood fire in El Dorado County. October 28th status. Breaking. New wildfire reported in Los Angeles County on October 28th, San Luis Obispo Tribune. Wildfire breaks out in Los Angeles County, CA San Luis Obispo Tribune. The wildfire has been burning on private land. At this time, there is California, Santa Cruz. Breaking. Brancy Forte fire reported in Santa Cruz County on October 27th, Merced Sunstar. Brancy Forte fire has been burning on private land. Currently, there is breaking. Wood fire reported in El Dorado County on October 28, 2024. 3 Massachusetts. Tinderbox at Chisette's. Boston area wakes up to the smell of smoke from brush fires erupting all over. Universal Hub. Firefighters came up our street looking for a fire in the woods because someone reported the smoke. It was coming down the terrain of the fells on the brush fires in Massachusetts scorched nearly 400 acres of land. WCVB. Smoke trapped near ground by subtle inversion. Storm Team 5 explains if the fire had gotten out of control, there are woods all behind these. 4 Ohio, Toledo. Multiple crews respond to house fire in Wood County. WD Well. Smoke alarm. Opened the door to the family room, and smoke rushed in. The owner then saw smoke and fire started in the garage. Firefighters say. 5 United Kingdom. Fire crews called to wood burner fire in Hereford House. Yahoo News UK. Firefighters were called to a wood burner fire at a Hereford house last night, October 27th. Fire crews called to wood burner fire in Hereford House. The Hereford Times. 2 Hereford and Worcester Fire and Rescue Service crews were called at 7:30 p.m. to a fire in Beech Grove, Hereford. The fire was in a wood burning. 6 Hungary. Bucharest sees significant pollution levels due to residential heating, traffic. Romania Insider. Pollution levels in cities are monitored by measuring the concentration of suspended particles, known as PM10 and PM2.5. Air Live has a network. 7 India and the United Kingdom. Delhi. Worry over toxic air as pollution worsens, BBC. The levels of tiny particulate matter, known as PM2.5, which can enter deep into the lungs and cause a host of diseases, reached as high as 350. India. About a third of 2019's asthma cases related to prolonged exposure to PM2.5, global study finds. Deccan Herald. PM2.5, or particulate matter 2.5, refers to tiny particles in the air that are 2.5 microns or less in diameter. Udiavani. While evidence has suggested long-term exposure to fine particulate matter pollution to be a risk factor for developing asthma, the researcher said. India. Checking pollution levels through hyperlocal data. The Hindu. This algorithm converts raw PM2.5 readings into an air quality index, AQI value that can help inform health-related decisions. The index is India. Delhi air quality remains very poor for second day after brief relief. Business Standard. Hazardous particulate matter, PM2.5 and 10 were prominently present in the air, according to data from the Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB. India. Possibility of rise in pollution. Delhi government to kick off Dia Jaleo campaign to curb. ANI News. PM2.5 is increasing in the air. Effects of stubble burning are now increasing now. We are making arrangements that vehicles going to Punjab. India. Tackling Delhi's annual pollution crisis. Measures are in place. How effective are they? The Indian Express. The top 4 contributors to PM2.5, particulate matter of diameter of 2.5 micrometers or less, emissions were road dust, 38%, vehicles, 20, India. Toxic smog and hoax bomb threats create chaos for India's tourism as Diwali festival draws near. The travel. As of today, India's air quality index, AQI, is at a poor 112, its airborne particulate matter, PM2.5, The air quality in Delhi is much worse.